Compressing a single vocal is one thing, but then compressing choir vocals, oh boy, that sounds scary. Hi, welcome to today's video. My name is Chenko if you're new here, and if you're not, welcome back to this video. And today we're going to be looking at how to compress choir vocals. And I promise you, it's not as scary as you think it is. It's not really a big deal, right? I think it's even harder to compress a single vocal than to compress choir vocals. And I'll show you in this video. Let's go. So first off, I'm going to be playing the track with all of the processing in, and then I'm going to take them off and see if we can hear any difference. Now let me take everything off. Alright, so I'm not going to say that the thing that made the most difference is the compression that I applied on this. There's a whole lot of other things going on behind the scene, but in today's video, I'm going to be focusing specifically on the compression, right? We can look at the breakdown of this in another video entirely. Okay, so let's dive right in. So what I like to do, first off, these are the folders containing all of the different recordings. So I like to organize my track. This is soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. And in here contains all of the individual recordings, right, of all the different parts. And then I've routed them to their relevant subgroups. So soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. And then I've routed all of these guys into the choir bus or the choir subgroup as well, where I'm doing further processing on them. So what I like to do, like I said, when I'm approaching a choir mix is I like to use similar chain or the same chain on them. What that typically means is whatever I have on the soprano subgroup or the soprano bus is what I typically have on the alto bus, tenor bus. But then for this one, I have the same thing going up until this point, and then I have some other things that are happening, which we're going to be looking at in a few minutes. Okay, so the first thing that I have going on here for soprano is EQ, which is very, very typical, right? EQ, and I'm just using that to, clean up, remove all of the low end rumble, clean up the low mids, and then, just try to tame that boxy area. And then I'm doing this with a dynamic EQ, right? So it's not static. And then the next is I'm doing saturation, and I'm using the NLS bus, and I'm also going for the Neve type right here, or the Neve formula, or whatever you want to call it. I think that the Neve setting or the Neve sound is usually nice on vocals, especially on a large group of people singing like choir vocals. So I tend to use Neve a lot. You can experiment. If you have that plugin, you can experiment with other settings as well. But I've just gone for the Neve. And then I'm using also another Neve emulation. This is the Neve bus compressor. This is emulating the 33609 bus compressor by Neve. And yeah, so I'm just using it to get similar colors. So I'm going for that specific Neve sound to glue all of the sounds together and to make them, unified and gelled together. Basically, what I have here is what I also have going on here. The only thing that's going to change is maybe the EQ points. You can see right here, it's similar, but it's not the same, right? Because all vocals don't sound alike, or they don't sound the same, rather. Are there vocals that don't sound alike? Are there voice? Okay. So yeah, I have the same thing going for alto, and then the same thing going for tenor as well, just the EQ points that are different. The saturation is the same, all neve. And then what's changing in the compressor, they all have similar settings. It's just the threshold that's going to be changing depending on how much gain reduction that I want to get from, each of them. So now let's look specifically at the compressor and what I'm doing in the compressor or with the compressor. So we'll start from right and go to left. This is the ratio, and I've set it to 3:1 ratio. The limiter section is turned off, right? It will be on like this, but it's turned off, and then this one is on. So I have the ratio, I've set the ratio to 3:1, no makeup gain after compression. And then I have the release, which is called recovery on this one. I have it set to the fastest, which is 100 milliseconds, because I want the compressor to recover as quickly as possible. And then for this particular compressor, the attack time is fixed, right? So you cannot select the attack time. It's fixed, but then you can, experiment with the release or the recovery to get what you want. And then I've pulled back this threshold, and let's see how much gain reduction we're getting on this one. Let me solo. Ooh. Right, so between 1 and 3 dB of gain reduction is what I'm aiming for, and that's what I'm getting. And it's similar with the other ones as well. Let's look at the alto one. Let's just solo that real quick. So at the loudest point is going up to 3, and maybe just kissing that for a little and then coming back from that. And it's the same for tenor as well. So the only thing that's changing is the threshold, depending on how much gain reduction that I want to get. And same also for basses, right? Up until here, the same thing. And what I have going on here with the Pro MB, I'm just using this basically as a de-esser to de-ess everything above this set value here. Because it's bass, I don't want to emphasize the higher frequencies. I want to make sure that those are tamed a little bit and under control. And then I'm using this MV2 to just push up the low-level information, do some upward compression. And this is because a lot of times they have, they're singing really low notes, and I want those low notes to come out, make it to be as audible as the high notes that they are singing. Because when you are singing really low notes, it could be difficult for, the audience to hear what you are saying or what you are singing at a particular time. So I'm just using this to push up the low-level information. And after that, I'm, using this to reinforce the low notes or the entire bass sound overall, right? And I've set it to 154. This is to target the chest voice of the bass singers, to just get those really low notes to come through a lot more. And you can see I've blended that in just, a little bit. I have it set to -12. So it's not going to be very, very audible, but you perceive the difference that it makes. Okay, let's quickly see what that's doing. I'll take everything off. Now let's hear that with everything on. So I guess you can say that I've successfully taken them from boys to men. Yeah, so that's basically it. And then all of this is going to the choir bus, and on the choir bus I have again saturation And with the saturation, I'm not doing so much. Here I have it on 2. For the individual bosses, I don't think I even have them up to 2. I think they are like on 3 or something. On 1, excuse me. Let's quickly confirm that. Yep. So I have them on 1. So not so much. I'm not trying to, introduce a lot of saturation. Just a little bit to just make the sound, just color the sound a little bit, tiny steps, and then you hear the big difference, in the end. But just tiny steps, they go a long way. That's what I'm doing here. I'm just applying a little bit more saturation on them, and then I'm also doing more compression. And I'm using the same precision comp from T-Rax, right? So here I don't have the threshold as high because now this is an accumulation of all of the different voices. So it's going to come up a lot louder. So I don't want to pull the threshold back so much. So I have it just here, and we're going to be getting. So we're going to be getting between 1 and 2 dB of gain reduction. You can see it's barely leaving 1, and it's just dancing between that 1 and 2 dB of gain reduction. So same thing, I have the ratio 3:1, no makeup gain applied, and I have it on the fastest release time possible. So yeah, that's what we have. And then I'm using this EQ to just, clean up after the compressor, because the compression is going to, of course, exaggerate, some of the things that we probably want to take out. So after compression, just use EQ to clean all those parts up. And then the next, I've introduced this mag EQ just to bring in some air to the vocals. Okay, so let's hear what it sounded like before the mag EQ, and then we hear what it sounds like after. Now this is on the entire choir bus. On, off, on, you can hear how it just became crispier, they became a lot livelier and more present. You begin to enjoy it a little bit more. And then the next thing I have is this tape right here, and I'm using the Slate Digital tape machine. Right, so what I've done is, because the input and the outputs, they are linked, so as I'm pushing up the input gain, it's, pulling that back. So I have the input gain at 2 dB, and it's bringing that back on the output, so that we're not getting a volume jump, right? We're just introducing more saturation into the process. And for this bias, I've set it to low to just give it a little bit more bump on the low end. For the tape speed, I've chosen 30 IPS. And yeah, these are all of the other settings that I've gone with. And then everything together sounds like this. Right, so what I want you to basically take away from this video is that when you are compressing choir vocals, you want to make sure that they are sounding as natural as possible. They are not sounding overly squashed. You want to leave in some dynamics in there, right? It's not like when you are, compressing a single vocal, that one you want to make sure it's up front. You want to make sure that it's consistent, all of the way. So for this, if you want to ensure consistency, what you can do is to go into the individual recordings and just, balance out using clip gain, right? If there are parts that are too loud, you want to just tuck them back in a little bit. But then again, you have to do it tastefully, because sometimes choirs can, when they are singing, naturally introduce some dynamics, like going from singing really soft to singing really loud. All of these dynamics are very, very typical when you hear choirs sing. So you want to make sure that you have all of that, but then you are not also squashing the mix to the point where it all sounds like one flat line and then there's no emotions to it. So that's what you want to be sure to do, right? So if you watched at how I compress, I'm just going for 1 to 3 between 1 and 3 dB of gain reduction, and that's on the very, very loud parts. So I'm being conservative with my compression. I'm not doing it so much, and that's how you want to typically approach compressing choir vocals. Don't be heavy-handed with it. Just a little goes a long way, like I said. And also using saturation too. I'll leave a link down in the description to the video I made about saturation and how saturation can also help you get compression, right? If you introduce saturation to your mixes, it also helps you compress a little bit. So saturation paired with compression, can just help you get that level that you want, that balance that you want, without being so heavy-handed with your compression. And that's basically it. Yeah. So thank you very much for coming along with me on this one, and I hope you learned something with this. I'm going to be doing a general breakdown of this song in another video, and I hope to see you on that one. Thank you very much. I've been Chenko, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good time. Oh, please be sure to like, to leave me a comment down in the description, in the comments section, and also subscribe to my channel. Oh boy, I really need to learn how to talk to the camera. I'll see you in another video. Thank you.